4 minutes after 11 is the time. Now it's time for Truss. And Ben Houchen is, you'll know, probably the Conservative mayor of the Tees Valley and something of a golden boy for both the modern Conservative Party and the so-called Red Wall. He's just responded to Liz Truss's latest intervention on the question of civil service pay. We're going to be talking about her comments about Nicola Sturgeon as well, but this is a development. He's just tweeted, "Actually speechless. There is simply no way you can do this without a massive pay cut for 5.5 million people, including nurses, police officers and our armed forces outside London. So much that we've worked for in places like Teesside would be undone." This is Liz Truss's pledge last night to save billions of pounds on pay for civil servants. And it's breathtaking, right? Again, I can't do another hour on stupid or ignorant. No, I can't do another hour on stupid or ignorant because I think that's at its most effective after the evidence has arrived. This is, again, I suppose, Ben Houchen can say this is a really, really, really stupid thing to do, and Liz Truss could say, no, it isn't. It's only after you've done it and you're looking at the consequences like the roadblocks in Dover that you can have a conversation about whether the people who said there wouldn't be any stoppages and shortages and blockages in Dover were stupid or ignorant, as in Jacob Rees-Mogg's case. So the question this morning that I was going to ask you before I saw this intervention, and a question which I think becomes even more pertinent now, is this one. 6 minutes after 11 is the time. Who is she appealing to? Most obviously, with her obnoxious comments about Nicola Sturgeon last night. Nicola Sturgeon is the First Minister of Scotland. I didn't do any calculations before I suggested earlier that she might be the most electorally successful politician in the United Kingdom at the moment. I don't know. I guess Sadiq Khan's probably got a claim to that crown as well. But what I mean, you could say negative thing. Well, listen to what she said about Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister of Scotland. And if you have a particular interest in Scottish politics, then alert the neighbours, will you? Because we're going in. But we're also going in on these civil servant comments as well, because the calculation is clearly that the base, as in the Conservative membership, are going to lap up these sort of comments and these sort of claims. And that's what I want your help in understanding. But here she is talking. Here is Liz Truss, who is the front runner to be our next Prime Minister, talking about that, as in the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, talking about the First Minister of Scotland.
I think the best thing to do with Nicola Sturgeon is ignore her. I think she's... Look, I'm sorry.
It's a bit difficult when she's First Minister, though. She's got a democratically elected position, just as you would.
I'm sorry, she's an attention seeker, Seb. That's what she is.
So that's Conservative members in the room, predominantly Brexit supporters, who've spent the last few years banging on about how important it is to respect democracy. You might call them hypocrites. I probably wouldn't be that kind. And so the reason for this inquiry is because she knows that that's going to get a round of applause. This is the skill set that she's bringing to the table. Is that just xenophobia or is that unkind? Is it now, as is always the case with bigotries, a narrowing of the target? So it used to be foreigners in general or just the brown ones, and then it includes the white ones if they're in Europe or Poland, and then France even, and now Scotland for this sort of... I need a better word. What's a better word than English nationalist? I don't know. I find that gross. I find the comments gross, and I am far from a passionate advocate of Scottish independence, but I find the comments gross and I find the reaction despicable. And that's the question, really. What is she appealing to with those comments? How did Liz Truss know that being pathetic and obnoxious about Nicola Sturgeon would get a big cheer and a round of applause from an audience that consists entirely of Conservative Party members, the tiny, tiny, tiny cohort of people who get to choose our next Prime Minister? What is she appealing to? So we've got the obvious Brexit-related observation that they are still campaigning in fantasy land. It's odd, isn't it, that on a day like today when Rees-Mogg is forced to essentially clean up his own mess regarding Dover. They're still campaigning in Fantasyland on Brexit. So that's part of it. But why would insulting Nicola Sturgeon in such a childish and obnoxious fashion be something that Liz Truss correctly thinks will go down well with her base? And of course, if you're Scottish, whether you are in favour of independence or against it, how do you feel about hearing the most likely next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom suggesting that your First Minister should be ignored? I think, and I'm not Scottish, so you are more than welcome to correct me on this, I think she's telling Scotland to sod off. 0345 6060 973. Hit the numbers now. You will get through. The democratically elected First Minister of Scotland should be ignored. What does that say about devolution? What does it say about democracy? What does it say about elections? And what is it that Liz Truss is appealing to? Is it a sort of slavish devotion to the union or just a devotion to the union? I don't think it is. I don't think the average English Tory is particularly committed to the union. Maybe I'm wrong, but she knows that she's going to get a round of applause for that. I'll play it to you again because I think it's a new low in Anglo-Scottish relations. The woman who would be Prime Minister of the United Kingdom insisting that the Scottish First Minister should be ignored, and then just throwing in a ridiculously hypocritical insult that she's an attention seeker. This is a woman who's been photographed dressing up as Margaret Thatcher. She's been photographed on a tank wearing a dress that looked like it had been pinched from Thatcher's wardrobe for one of the debates, telling unconscionable fibs about trade deals in order to curry favour with the membership. If being accused of attention seeking by Liz Truss is like being accused of being stupid and dishonest by Jacob Rees-Mogg. So what's she up to? 0345 6060 973. I'll play the clip again, then we'll start on your calls.
I think the best thing to do with Nicola Sturgeon is ignore her. I think she's... I think...
Difficult when she's First Minister, though. She's got a democratically elected position, just as you would.
I'm sorry, she's an attention seeker, Seb. That's what she is.
And to add to that, which was what we were coming on air with at 10 o'clock this morning, this claim about saving £11 billion on civil servants' wages has now blown up in her face. Because in order to save that sort of money, you would, as Ben Houchen, the Conservative mayor of Teesside, has pointed out, you'd be inflicting pay cuts on countless soldiers, nurses, teachers outside London. This is a really, really stupid policy pronouncement. So what exactly is she trying to do? To whom is she trying to appeal?